man, you're so unemotional. You're like, yeah, yeah, it sucks. Did they really talk to his manager? Or did he go back in their break room and sit down and wait for a few and then come back? There's so many. When I think of car dealership, I've never worked for one. I don't really know, but it seems like there are so many techniques they have to get us, because we all buy cars, right? To get us to sign that deal. There's so much gamesmanship in it, and they've got it down. It works. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 11, Pivoting Through Life, Risking It All, and today I'm talking about the art of negotiation. We do it every day, and the fundamentals of what negotiation looks like. There are basically 5 types of negotiations, and I'm just going to kind of go through those and talk about what they look like. So number 1 is a competing mindset. And in a competing mindset, that's I win, you lose, is what that looks like. When a customer comes back to me and says, hey, you gave me a price of $100,000. Can we get that down? Can we? And when I look at him and go, man, I've taken out everything I can on the deal. That's where I'm at. I'm at $100,000. And they just kind of put their head down. They're like, okay, I won, they lost. And is that a good thing? Well, it happens. Depending on the situation, or let's reverse that. The homeowner comes back and goes, look, you're at $100,000. I've got to have a price of X or we're not doing this. Now, either I'm accepting it or I'm not. And when I accept it and go, okay, I can do it for 95 or I can do it for 90 or whatever they throw out there, they won, I lost. And sometimes that's where we're at. The second thing that happens in negotiation is what's called collaboration. And collaboration is more, I win, you win. Everybody wins. We collaborate on a deal. And I'll give you an example of driving down the road in my truck, phone rings, pick it up. It's one of my homeowners. Do the chit chat. How you doing? How's everything going? Everything's great. I said, well, what's going on? They said, well, you gave me a price of $100,000 and I'm talking to a couple other roofers. They've got a better price, just wondering what you can do. At that point, I say, okay, I don't remember. There's so many deals going on. I say, well, where am I at? And they say, well, you're at 100,000. And I say, okay, well, where's the other guy at? They may or may not tell me. Typically, I can get them to tell me. Let's say they come back and say, I'm at 90,000. This is very important for you to know as a negotiation tactic. Many of my younger sales guys at that point will say, okay, we'll match it. Don't do that. When you say we'll match it, what frequently happens is the homeowner says, okay, I'll let you know, and hangs up. The proper technique in collaboration, a more favorable technique for you to win is, so we can all get there, make the homeowner happy, make you happy, everybody wins. I'll say, okay, where's the other guy at? Well, he's at 90,000. I come back with, well, where do I need to be? You're obviously calling me for a reason, and they'll tell me, yeah, I need agreement from is what I need. And they'll say, yeah, well, I like you, I trust your company, whatever they're saying, it's a positive. And I say, yeah, well, don't be too hard on me. Where do I need to be? And the surprising thing is, I'm at 100, the other guy's at 90. They don't just come back with 90. Frequently, they'll come back and go, well, can you get to 96? Can you get to 96,000? Can you get to 95,000? The correct response is, I always say, well, I don't know if I can do that or not, but if I can, am I doing your roof? And if they say, well, I don't know, I got to get with my wife, or I got to get with my partner, I say, okay, well, get with them and call me back. Frequently, they'll tell me, yes, if you can meet the 96 number, if you can meet the 95 number, you're putting on my roof. And at that point, instantly I go, okay, done deal. I'll have my gals redo the contract with the correct number on it, send it over, get it signed. And then we do that immediately. That's a collaboration where it's a win-win for everybody. The next thing I want to talk about is compromise. And compromise is I win, but I lose some. You win, but you lose some. Compromise is often confused with collaboration. The difference being, if I go to one of my guys that's working on the roof, the guys that work for me, let's say on flashing, let's say flashing's $100 a foot. What we're doing there frequently in our market is we're cutting out stucco, we're cutting out diamond lathe, we're cutting out the old flashing. We're going to run that underlayment up the wall and put in new flashing, put in new diamond lathe, put in new stucco. So let's say they're $100 a foot. Well, there's so much flashing that it's going to push the price of this roof up so high that I'm not going to be competitive. I'm going to be out of the market. I'm not going to get the deal. So I go back to my guy and I go, look, I know it's $100 a foot, but here's what I can do. I've got another job coming up. It's got a lot of flashing. It's got 100 feet, 200 feet of flashing. I'll give you that job as well, but I need you to do this for $60 a foot. He's like, man, 60. I mean, that's a big discount. I go, yeah, but this other, you're going to get it at full boat, full price. I'm going to give them something. My guy's going to look at me and go, well, yeah, that's a good deal. That's a good deal for me. I can do that. And it's a good deal for me because it's going to work out. The difference between compromise and collaboration. So I've compromised some there because I have given up some other work that maybe I could have got it done for 90 a foot, but it's going to be done at 100, but I win over here. I'm not going to make any profit on what I'm doing over here, but I'm going to get the job. Get the job, and the rest of the job is profitable, if that makes sense. The fourth technique that we all use, whether we recognize it or not, avoid or avoidance, as I'll call it. And avoidance is perceived in our mind if we're using it, or the person that's using it. I'm not that guy. I don't use avoidance, hit it head on. But those that do use avoidance, they see it as a lose-lose. I'm going to lose, you're going to lose, and that's why I'm going to avoid the topic. Those people are non-confrontational. They don't want to talk about anything that the other person perceives as negative. They don't want to talk about it. When I get avoidance from a business person, it's so frustrating for me. It's like, just tell me. I mean, I need to know in business so I can plan my business, plan a budget for whatever it is. I mean, just tell me what the deal is. Don't be the person that uses avoidance because you don't want to talk about it. It can be frustrating the other business person you're talking to. And this is not a planned technique to win. It's just something that happens within negotiating. Give you an example. So my dentist falls in that category. It's my old dentist. I had a lot of work done on my teeth. And I went in there and I'm like, okay, we got to the point where we're doing this work on my teeth, and let's do this and this and this. And we're going through everything. And over months and months of time, we go through everything. And it's like, okay, now we're going to redo your teeth. Like, okay, what's that cost? She's like, yeah, well, we'll get to that. Okay. Well, the next visit, what's that cost? And the next visit, what's that cost? I never could get an answer out of him. He didn't want to talk about it because it's a lot of money. I'm telling him, look, this is just business for me. I mean, just tell me what it is so I can plan for it. He didn't want to share the number. I don't know if that number intimidated him or he was embarrassed or just didn't like confrontation. Eventually, when he shared the number, I think he was shocked, and I'm like, okay. I mean, here's how I'm going to pay you. On the first visit, I'm going to pay this, the second visit this, and the third visit this. We'll be done with it and we can finish all the rest of the treatment. But avoidance is definitely a technique that happens when people could be intimidated by you, or if you are intimidated by your customers, you could fall into that category, but just recognize it, understand what you can do to not use that technique as a business person. Just get past it. You eventually have to. The fifth technique is accommodate, or we're accommodating. And accommodating is I lose, you win. We talked about competing. I talked about the reverse. And really, accommodating is the reverse of I win, you lose. That's all it is. That is, for me, if I'm on the losing end, that's when I say my price is $100,000 and they come back and say, look, you're going to do it for 95 or you're not doing it. I'm now going to accommodate them. They're on the other end of that. They win, I lose. That's the way it is. But accommodating, it's not always a bad thing if you know where you're at. If I can talk about accommodating on a bigger scale and give you a little different example, I think about the big box stores. In another business that I had, I dealt with, and I won't name the big box store, the technique they use is they use their clout, their status, their buying power. That's what they're using. We're going to buy all these units from you. I mean, just thousands and thousands of items, what I was selling, but we need this price. That's just really making my margins thin. Okay, but I got volume. And the technique they use is they know I've got to, or whoever they're buying from, in many, many, many cases, has got to buy plant and equipment. We're going to rent bigger space. We've got to buy the machinery to produce more product. Once you do that, the story is told over and over and over. I go back for the second run through, how we doing? I'm talking to my guy, my contact within the big box store. And he says, doing great. We're selling out. We want to order more, but I need you to come in. So I go in and they're squeezing my margin even more. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I can't hardly produce it for that and make a profit. I mean, it's very difficult. I've got all this plant and equipment. I got all this overhead. I bought this machinery. I need to get it paid for. I'm kind of stuck. That is a true situation where frequently the producer is going to accommodate the big box vendor in order to not go bankrupt in many cases, just thin margins. I mean, it's like, how in the world do you produce millions and millions of dollars worth of product and walk away with the slimmest of margin, walk away with a $100,000 a year job? I mean, those are points where you're accommodating. On the opposite side, I just really appreciate, and I'll name the company Disney. Disney is, just hats off, a lot of respect for them. When I got with Disney, I laid everything out and they said, we want to make sure that we're no more than 30% of your business. I said, why is that? And they said, well, if we are no longer dealing with you, we don't want you to have financial problems, difficulty. We want to make sure you're not overbuying on plant and equipment. They're also more accommodating, I'll say a little more fair as far as pricing goes, so we could keep margins. They wanted us, in our best interest, to be healthy as a company. I think as you're negotiating and going through your business, maybe the best part of that story that I just told is, in negotiating your business, your company, you need to have more than one. You need to have some diversification within your company. No matter which of these techniques you're using today or on the next deal, just recognize what it is. If you can recognize what it is, you can also recognize where your customer, your homeowner is and what kind of person they are. And that could help you through the negotiation. I don't really have a preference on which one of these I use because we use all of them. I think about compromise and collaboration are very frequent. I'm reminded of, another story where I was on a job. The homeowner was a very nice guy, big job, big tile roof we were putting on. And at one point, we had dropped some tile off the roof, and it landed on the water heater for a pool, a very elaborate swimming pool he had put in for a couple $100,000. And he called me and he said, hey, I need you to come out and look at something. We walked around the property, and he said, hey, this happened. You guys took care of it, no big deal. But some tile landed on the pool heater. We talked about that at one point. I said, yeah, I remember that. And he said, well, the water line in my pool started going down. And I thought, oh my gosh, I put this pool in. I've got a leak in there somewhere. So I called my pool guy out. The pool guy said, no, your leak's back here. Let me show you. It's back here at the water heater. It's leaking. So we need to replace it. I called in the office, in our office. We sent a guy out, and he said, yeah, it needs to be replaced, but that's internal. The production guys couldn't have done that. So I said, well, no, we're going to replace it. Well, the production guys called another pool guy out. He said the same thing. I was in a meeting with production guys, and the VP of production told me, he said, hey, we're not paying for it. It's internal. And I said, yes, we are. We're doing the right thing. And what we ended up doing was, I'll split it with you. Production's going to pay for half, and I'm going to pay for half. In the end, we're going to do the right thing for the customer. So what was that? Was that collaboration? Was it compromise? That win some, lose some? Or is that, more like I win, you win? Well, it's in the best interest of the company. The point in telling that story is, oftentimes the lines are not black and white of exactly what it is. As we negotiate our way through business, we've got to get to a final resolution. No matter if it's short-term lose, short-term win, if everybody can kind of get to a win-win in the end, that's where you want to be. That'll make for a healthy business. Love you guys. See you in the next one.